Continuing on with our conversion process, we're going to take a look at the sheet border file, sometimes referred to as your title block drawings, where we want to change the units of resolution over. Want to make sure there's no civil model, and we'll need to slightly rescale that. So let's take a look at converting our border file. To get started, I'm going to go ahead and use the workspace and work set again. We'll browse over to our sheet border folder structure. And I'm not going to demonstrate all three of these. I'm just going to pick one and select it. So we'll open up the plan and profile border sheet. So open that up. You may get a question here to convert this, and this is an example of a file that should not have a civil model, but yet it does. And so we're going to remove the civil model out of this one. So we go ahead and convert it. And because we were prompted to upgrade the civil model, we already know it has a civil model in it. So let's go ahead and downgrade this file. So we'll go to our Civil Tools, Downgrade DGN, and we will remove the civil model from the current file. You can do the entire folder if you want. And we'll select OK. And I'll just make a new folder under here called Downgrade. And we'll select that folder, open, and allow that to process. And this is fairly typical. You'll see some warnings in there about it, not sure what to do with the civil data because we're removing the model. That's normal. So we'll say OK to close. And now we just need to exit the product real quick and go move that file. So in our sheet borders downgrade folder, we've got this new file here, plan and profile border.dgn. I'm going to cut that, put that back into my sheet borders folder, and we'll paste that in there and replace the other file. And then I can just delete the downgrade folder. And I can even delete the backup file that it created for what we're doing here. And so let's go ahead and open that file back up again. Before we change our units of resolution and rescale the border, I want to just verify our measurements. Well, if we measure across here, we know that this is supposed to be 34 inches in my case, but I really don't want to have to try to do the math to make it simpler. So if I can go to the design file settings and I can change my master unit readout to inches. And when I do that, it does the math for me. It doesn't actually change anything in terms of the size of the drawing. So I'm just going to change that master unit readout for a minute. And now when I measure across the top, it's going to be 34 inches. I also want to see more decimal places because of the survey foot to international foot, and we're dealing with the 5th and 6th decimal places. So I'm going to set that. And so now when I measure, this should be exactly 34 inches, and you'll see that it is, and it should be exactly 22 inches, and it is. And you can also check your inner boxes, make sure that they're where they're supposed to be before your conversion. So once I have those changes made, now I'm ready in my design file settings to change my working units. And so I'm going to edit these, and I'm going to leave 10,000, but I'm going to change it to international foot, change my solids to 10 always, and then everything here, I'm going to leave this as inches for just a minute, and we'll come back and change that to feet and inches when we're all done. So now we're going to select OK, and that's going to resize everything. And so just to verify, if I measure this now, it is no longer 34 inches. It's too small. So we have to scale everything. So I'm just going to hit Control A to select everything. And you want to scale about basically where your triad's at, 0, 0, bottom left corner typically. And so with everything selected, we're going to go to our scale dialog. And what we're going to type in here is 1 and then 5 zeros and the number 2. That's the size that we're going to increase this. And you want to do it about 0, 0. And you only want to click once and then cancel and then deselect. And so now if I measure this, it is exactly 34 inches again. Our height will be exactly 22 inches again, so we have scaled it to the proper size. And so the last thing we want to do is we'll go back and change this now to feet instead of survey feet. And then this mass or subunit would be inches. I'm going to go ahead and change this, the tick marks on these, and then set that back to 3. And then we are good to go. This file has been fixed, and then you want to always save your settings when you are complete. So you'll want to complete this exercise for any remaining title blocks that you have. You're going to follow this same process. One final point to make on the downgrading of the DGN to get rid of the civil model, that should only ever be done in your seed files and your cell libraries and your sheet border files. Other than that, don't worry about removing civil models, but just verify your seed files, your cell libraries, and your sheet border files. Make sure that those do not have civil models in them. And if the civil models are really old, and if you run the key in and it shows just the word root, it doesn't mean they don't have a model. If you were prompted for an upgrade, they definitely have a model, even though that key in browser command may not show it. So go ahead and do the downgrade on your cells, your seed files, and your border sheets.